All right, let's get started. So this is meeting 71. And no woes parrot either. Um, all right, so the main thing for the company is that tiny boxes are shipping this week. Finally, we're actually going to get a whole bunch of them in the mail. We had a few problems with. So tiny boxes have a RAID array with 4 NVMe drives in them. They also have a USB boot drive. We had a problem where the USB boot drive wouldn't show up. Maybe a third of the time. And you'd have to reboot, and it was terrible. So we try swapping the drive, we try swapping the enclosure. And none of those things fix it. It turned out, so we're thinking it's got to be the processor, it's got to be the BIOS. It turns out what was wrong. There's this small splitter we have that plugs into the motherboard that splits the USB ports out. And somehow that was broken. We switched to the same splitter that was used on the TinyBox V1, and that one just worked. So yeah, I think that's the last. We could ship tiny boxes this week?
I think some are going out today.
Some are going out today, great. And someone bought 2 refurbished greens. I think we'll get those out this week too. So that's the company update. And yeah, let's talk about TinyGrad 1.0. So I think this is a decision that we're going to have to make. Someone posted in general, I'm currently tasked with writing a book about AI application development for beginners. I'm considering using TinyGrad instead of PyTorch as a framework of choice. However, since we aren't at 1.0 yet, how stable are the interfaces? And I think the answer to that is the interfaces are actually extremely stable. There hasn't been, like, you can look at the TinyGrad example page, and, like, it used to break back when we were in, like, 04, 05, 06. But from, like, 07, 08 onwards, there haven't really been many breaking changes to the API. So I think we sort of might be ready for 1.0, if by 1.0 we mean that, like, the API is stable. So yeah, I mean 1.0 might happen before we do speed. The only thing that I really think that still needs to be cleaned up for 1.0 is the JIT. I think that there's a lot of quirky edge cases in the JIT that need to be understood and documented. But other than that, I think it kind of is 1.0, so we might be doing the 1.0 release maybe in like 2 months. Before we're on par with PyTorch for speed. I also put out a document. I'll repost it in Discord right now about how to get speed. So this is just like a list of. It's nice. We're finally kind of at the point where we can reasonably talk about these things, and I think it would just be this list. And if we did just this list, we'd be on par with PyTorch. So the first one on the list is upcasted warps. Maybe yeah, we'll get to locals later in the meeting. Upcasted warps mean GPUs process data. GPUs are like single instruction, multiple data machines, or well, SIMT is the acronym used because they don't like appear like a SIMD machine. You don't get a wide vector, but under the hood they have a vector registers that are as wide as the warp, and we should expose that to the program because there's some things you can do across the warp. We already are doing one thing across the warp, tensor cores, and yeah. So it would be nice to actually expose that to the the code. Like right now, there's all these like hacks which like look for like certain local variables, and the TensorCore thing could be wrong, and we want to just not do that. So yeah. Lines. The other thing that I worked on, if you look at, I made a branch on TinyGrad called V2. It's not really V2. V2 is about 7,000-ish lines, and those 7,000 lines let you run beautiful MNIST on Metal. So about half of TinyGrad is like critically required. It's just good to think about. You know, we have grown a lot in lines. We've grown a lot in lines from 1,000. I mean, 1,000 was never realistic, but there was a time where like 5,000 and 7,000 were kind of realistic. But I think a lot of that line growth has come more from features, new backend support, and things that are a lot more like orthogonal to the main code base, right? Like take something like the AMD driver. Like the AMD driver added 1,000 lines, but it doesn't affect you.
Morning.
Good morning. Thank you. It's not like we have to understand those. You have to understand those 1,000 lines in order to understand TinyGrad. So they're nicely factorized. Oh, I see Chen, you just showed up. And we are right up to your item. MLPerf CI Divin Mod Quantizonics.
Yeah, so MLPerf CI. Let me check if that run finish. So I think I would manually test that for a few runs, then like adding features like trigger from a branch, like update benchmark, and really make it a daily cron job. And we'll also add the new stats feature so we can capture the stats. I think we pretty much care about the step time and the like time to converge. Okay. Yeah, so the job finish in 3 hours. That sounds about right. That's a good
Wait.
start.
Oh, you trained the whole thing?
Yeah. I thought that's the idea.
Oh. I mean, yeah, I guess we can. Oh, I was imagining it was just going to be more of a, no, I don't know. Yeah, maybe we should just train the whole thing. I thought we were just going to do like the beam search and check and get the time, but
Yeah, I think since we can, this seems to be better in case. But I think our ResNet is still suffering from the fact that it doesn't converge to the original number. So we can.
you know, I found a bug.
Okay.
The optimizer was keeping its momentum in float 16. None of the other ones do that.
And that's the optimizer used by ResNet.
I believe so. It's just like SGD. So Atom was keeping its 2 parameters in float 32, but SGD was keeping it in whatever the tensor was in.
Okay, I would do something
I
to
don't
this
know.
login. Otherwise, it's generating like a, I don't know, thousand lines in this log. I'll clean this up, but it looks nice. And we should, I think, if possible, we should train like end-to-end in 3 hours to be fine.
Cool. Yeah, no, I like it. Are we running on? Is this AMD or NVIDIA?
This is green. This is green. Green is faster. There's no reason we cannot run on both.
Cool. I mean, we don't have that many green. We can definitely put more red in the CI pool too.
Sure, then maybe that's better. We add like one more red to CI, then we run this on red. So
Yeah, I like
kind of
that.
still, yeah. Okay, that sounds good.
I like that idea. Yeah. Let's just run it on red. We'll add another red to the CI pool, and yeah, let's run them both. I like this. Yeah, let's just run our MLPerf as cron jobs.
Cool. Yep. And the next thing is, so I found a bug for integer diff. I have the issue and the repro for that. I also have the fix for that. It's kind of gated by quantize onyx. The test has some off by 1 errors that I'm not too sure. So I was planning to like look into that. Otherwise, everything else would be correct. The issue was we were previously using a float to do the diff, then do the rounding, and that's incorrect for some cases.
we were casting it to float, you're saying?
Oh, yes.
I see.
I did a comment for the PR for context Onyx. Okay, great. Yeah. I don't know if the old context Onyx bug or any of the behavior difference are coming from this bug, but something we definitely want to fix.
I see Onyx is later down on the list, but is this like kind of the last blocker on bringing Onyx into the code base?
Don't believe so. I think this is independent because currently the context Onyx job passed, right? Even if it's on like pass on the incorrect implementation, it should be independent to bring that into Tinygraph.
Cool. Yeah, no, we'll discuss that when we get down to Onyx. If there's any more blockers or anything more I can do, because I definitely want that. I think that's a 1.0 requirement. Like I want that front end to be in TinyGrad.
Let's discuss when we are at Onyx.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's everything.
Cool. Let's scheduler.
I found a bug in padding. We were realizing some paddings we didn't have to realize. So they fixed that.
Wait.
One less line kernel. Yeah, go ahead.
When you say a bug, it wasn't giving wrong output. It was just fusing. It was just realizing some things it didn't have to realize.
It was doing something dumb. Yeah.
Cool.
It was wrong. It was trying to be safe and not push paths through division. It didn't have to if we're realizing that division. So yeah, that's fixed. I'm working on fuse A range. Pretty much everything is done. If you look at my PR for fuse A range default, it's PR number 10333. I have a bunch of skips for out of bounds access and linearizer failures. I post some of them in the scheduler channel. So I'm wondering if those are blockers to make this default.
Well, if we're getting, I mean, the Z3 thing should be very good about out of bound access. So if we're getting any real out of bounds access, we got to fix that. That's probably real. This isn't like the that's now all computed by Z3, and I trust it a lot.
I thought, as Lyko said, it's a bug in the Z3 setup that it's not considering some gates. So it might not be real. It might just be our Z3 setup.
No, it was real.
Oh, it was real.
It's like what's happening is if you have a valid, some of the valids will simplify the other valids next to it. But if the valid, if the condition had a load in it, then it would simplify the load of the gate in the load. That's not supposed to do that. I don't know if that makes sense, but I have a PR for it.
Okay,
cool.
So
yeah,
it's real. A PR for it.
Yeah, it was real.
Great. Let's get that merged. Hopefully that fixes it. Yeah, I see your post in scheduler where it's removing some gate. Yeah, we shouldn't ever be removing the gate if it can go out of bounds. Oh, cool. Yeah. Oh, so I see this PR. Yeah, just posted last night. Great. Hopefully that fixes it.
I pretty much fixed everything on the scheduler front. There are some few edge cases left. Yeah, I'll get merge if unless the devectorize issue ends up being a major bug. I think that's pretty much it for fuse A range. There are some cases where the A range isn't folding; it's creating a for loop. So that's also
yeah, I can look at those too. if you post. I hope that new reduce stuff should be powerful enough to get all the A ranges. And if there's something that's not, we need to make sure those for loops go away, because you can get really slow performance then.
Cool. I'll post
Or
that.
actually, even better. Yeah, write some tests that are currently failing, and currently not folding the A range. We gotta fix that. But, yeah, no,
Yeah,
very.
I've merged some to master. So it's test indexing. Or just Anna.
Great. Yeah, no, I'm very excited to have Fuse A range be the default. It's something that I'll still set manually, and yeah, just be better.
That's it. For this week, there's the kernelize issue with assign. So currently, the way we do set item sort of expects you to realize that set item before you access the buffer again.
Is that is that those failing assign things? I think Hooved posted them.
Correct.
So it's a real bug.
It's a spec limitation. It's not a bug. It's actually an expected behavior of set item.
I see. I was actually I was just thinking about basically doing this. I mean, this is one place where TinyGrad's performance is way worse than PyTorch. Like if you have something in a loop where you'll just set one variable over and over again. I'll write some stress tests like this where you just like, make a tensor that's 10 long and then you put, a sub 0 equals a sub 1 equals a sub 2 equals. We got to make sure things like that are fast. Is that the same sort of thing, like a chain of set items?
Correct. Yeah. You have
Cool.
to basically lazily evaluate that graph instead of having to in place realize it every single time, which poses a interesting connection of like what is the actual dependencies of these graphs. So I think I'm gonna put up a tiny grad improvement proposal this week, just to spec it out because it's a spec issue. We need to maybe rethink some parts of assign and how it relates to buffers and views of buffers.
I see. Yeah, I know that we'll get long chains in the random stuff too, where we're just repeatedly assigning to the random counter.
Yeah, I think that's easier because the random counter is a single value. The problem exists when you have multiple views on a chunk of memory. So if you're assigning to different subbuffers, how are you gonna chain those different subbuffer assigns and link them back to the main buffer? There's this base memory at the bottom, and you have to sort of create edges to different offsets and sizes. Like this
Yeah,
part of this
yeah,
part, this part is.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, like if two assigns are assigning to different parts, different regions of the buffer, then sure they can run in parallel. They don't have to be dependent on each other. Is that what you mean?
You have to actually express that thing. Like, what is that view graph?
Yeah, I mean, like it shouldn't be wrong to make them all sequential, right? If we do make them all sequential, I would imagine that would still give the right answer. It may not be optimal, but cool. Okay, if this test assign thing is a real bug, let's understand it and let's fix it. Cool. Driver?
So the USB GPU, and I mostly merge all the things related to the write speed. So the only thing is the copy out. I just got it 2 times better, like 3 megabytes a second, but it's still pretty slow. So yeah, I'll continue reversing that. Yeah.
So we're still doing a mem copy in the 8051.
Yeah. So for now, yeah. But yeah, definitely we can remove that. I just need to find how to do that. Yeah, actually, it's a bit trickier than right because actually the whole logic happens after the comment is posted to the NVMe. So all this wait logic, and it's a bit, yeah, it's a bit way bigger because like when we do write command, we can just, so if we see the right command, we can just stop after that and just like free all the endpoints, just release them. So the buffer will be filled up already, like before this comment. That's not the case for the read, so it's, yeah, it's logic, it's a bit more complicated. But
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like it actually has to, the drive has to take the action before the USB in the read case, or in the write case, the USB takes the action first.
yeah, I mean, actually, I see like where the path differs. Like for the NVMe in GPU, I just, yeah, so I'm just trying to match this path, but it's just hanging for some reason. Like the controller. So yeah, I'll continue on this.
Cool. Yeah, the other thing, the other patch I want to make to the firmware is I have an idea that if you change the class from a mass storage device to a custom device, then it won't require sudo on Mac anymore.
So yeah, I tried that. It still requires sudo, but actually I'm not sure if my patch is correct, but I'll double check that. But I don't see, like, I'm not sure how to reliably see what interface is used on macOS, like for the USB device. Like,
I believe it's in the descriptor. I believe you can get like the USB class in the descriptor.
y- yeah, okay, yeah, I'll double check that. I don't see it in the list. Like when I just connected with not modified firmware, when I just connected the controller with the GPU, it's already not on the list of the USB mass storage interface. But when it's in NVMe, it's there.
Well, yeah, so there may be like there's probably a difference between the driver actually like right, like there's a probe function in the driver. Right? The probe function is either going to return true or false. And maybe if it doesn't, if it has the GPU, it's returning false. But I'm not sure that releases the driver's claim on the device. I'm pretty sure it's just in the descriptor. Because how do things know? I mean, it's not the VID and stuff that determine.
No. Yeah, I mean, I found this in the firmware, like this USB descriptor, and I patched it.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. So B device class is specifically what I'm thinking of.
I think it should be like B interface class.
No, specifically B device class, not the interface. So it's in the there's the interface descriptor, but then there's the device descriptor. It's called B device class, and it's set at the device level. And then 08 is a mass storage device. I think if you change that to 0F, it won't. Sorry, FF, it won't be claimed.
Okay, yeah, I'll check that. So
I mean, we should also check if Mac can access normal USB devices without sudo from user space.
Actually, when I just asked ChatGPT about that, it said that the only way to do that is just using driver kit, and like you need to sign your application with like the permission to access USB devices.
Okay, that's annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all right, if that's really the case, but yeah, I mean, I still think it shouldn't be a mass storage device because then we won't have to call that libusb unclaimed kernel driver anymore.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Also, on the comma device, there's a ton of CPU usage because it seems like libusb is polling, and I wonder on Linux if we can go one level lower and directly use the interface libusb is using.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we can do that. Actually, it's
Do you
pretty,
know
I
what it
mean,
is?
like, yeah, I looked into that. I think it should be, as far as I remember, it's just mostly CSFS. Yeah, it's just like the same. Yeah, it just talks to CSFS to do
Cool.
all this stuff with the USB. But yeah, actually, I'm interested in just looking into the common device timings. So yeah, I mean, how about the CPU usage there? If can we plug the GPU into some common device?
Yeah, let me, yeah, I'll work on that today. I bought a bunch more of the adapters. One of the annoying things about doing that, we need a hub. Yeah, we need a hub because we got to make sure that the network's okay. But yeah, we'll definitely figure out how to do that. We'll try to get GPUs on the common devices. Cool. You think we'll get to the 5090 this week?
Um, yeah, I hope. So, what's the priority, 5090 or driver in Tinygrad?
I think the USB device is higher priority, but if you feel stuck, I don't think it's much higher priority. You're welcome to kind of work on both. Uh, yeah, however you, whatever you feel like. Uh, they're both pretty important things to do, especially the 5090 with the runtime. But yeah, no, I'm interested in I hope that the getting rid of the kernel driver will be easy. And then in Tinygrad, we won't have to deal with maintaining a patched kernel driver anymore. It'll just automatically get you P2P if you use Tinygrad and remove the driver.
Yeah, okay.
But cool, yeah, no, whatever. I'd say the USB is slightly higher priority, but only slightly.
Mhm.
Great. Okay. I saw the PR moving along with WebGPU.
Yeah, pretty happy with where it is. So a couple of recent changes where I implemented or I limited the ability to realize when capturing the graph. I don't think we should ban it completely. I don't think we should ban realize completely. I sort of wrote about it in the Discord, but basically realizing can be useful if you're just setting stuff up that shouldn't be in the exported graph. It's very convenient to be able to realize. So I implemented that. Basically, we're banning realizes if the tensor has input UOPs in its graph. So there's that, and also there's some annoying edge cases with initializing state after you've captured the graph. So, I thought I could just go and round up all the tensors that had state in them and realize them, after we've built the graph, but it's not that simple because if a tensor, if a tensor has state in it and it hasn't been realized, and then you build the graph and the graph does compute on that tensor, then you've mixed together, loading state with compute in one tensor. And so it's not really straightforward to realize only part of that. So the simplest solution is actually just to run the exec items that that don't do compute, that just move data around, so buffer copy and VWAP. So that seems to work, and it seems
Well,
pretty simple.
I think you have to be careful there. So check out, I have a PR called Compile 4, which might do exactly what you want.
Okay, I'll look at it.
So instead of separating it based on doing copies and not copies, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, but what you're looking for is the set that's independent. So you could imagine in the graph, you have like an input node and an output node. And then there's going to be some nodes that are on that path. And then there are going to be some nodes that are independent from that path. So everything that's independent from that path, you can run before. And then you want things that are dependent on that path to actually be the ones you capture. Am I getting at the right thing?
I think so. I just have to see like how you define the paths and how you interact. How do you like actually implement that so I can look at it?
Here, I will link it in general. And yeah, I mean, this is like a common story that is happening all over, and this is like all part of. I think you're really pointing the way for what the JIT refactor is going to look like here. Because I want the JIT. So right now we have this option to the JIT called prune, but it's kind of hacky. I want this to be done super generically, and then in the JIT, like you've always defined these things that are like different, like these. So we have input state, we have implicit input state, we have explicit output state, and then we have implicit output state, which are things like assigns. So I think that what you're thinking about here is like, on the implicit input state, you want to do as much processing as you can that doesn't interfere with the explicit input state. And that's kind of what this independent path thing is doing.
Okay, yeah, I need to actually look at the code that you wrote.
But yeah, no, I think I mean this is only going to get easier, and it's not going to interfere with. Like I think the core of your PR is the concept of the graph renderer that produces the JavaScript, and that interface should be quite stable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I feel pretty satisfied with overall with like the way I'm capturing the graph. It's very satisfying. I don't know that you're just like not running anything or running as little as possible. It just feels pretty cool. So okay, I can try to see what you're doing with state and with the paths and so forth. And then aside from that, like of course there's the issues with chronalize side item. But also I want to discover if there's anything else just by testing the different web GPU examples and making sure they still work with the refactor. So I can do that. Yeah, we can go from there.
Sounds good. Yeah, no, it looks very clean.
Okay.
Cool. How are locals coming?
Hi. So the PR is still only blocked now by the debugging CI. I couldn't connect yet to the new machine to test if the.
You mean the new Mac?
Yeah. I mean, I could connect, but it keeps logging me out every like 5 seconds, so I couldn't even install like testing dependencies.
It's logging you out?
No, it's disconnecting. It's the connection is.
So you're tunneling through a gateway machine.
Yeah, I went through green 14 and red 10, and I have the same problems in both of them.
I see. And you're saying Tiny Mac 3 is disconnecting you.
Yeah.
Any ideas?
Last night.
Did you see any problem?
No, I checked bandwidth utilization on Gateway 1 and it's like...
It's not high. Yeah, I checked it too. I installed Unload. Yeah, but moving Gateway 1 definitely fixed the switch thing. But
it's really odd because the bandwidth is like very small already.
No, but I mean, Gateway 1 can have a lot of bandwidth if we're hitting stats.tinygrad. Like, I think it actually was surging that bandwidth. But I mean...
The times I was monitoring it didn't really spike that high.
I didn't see it either, but I don't know. Moving that one definitely fixed the laggy SSH issue, but this seems like a different issue. I didn't get any...
I thought it was
power management and it was going to sleep. I disabled sleep on it, so it might be better.
Oh, on the Mac?
Yeah.
Wait, so how come I can't SSH to it?
It might just be slow.
Why does it have password auth enabled?
It does. Turn itself back.
Oh, well, obviously I can't do that, but actually, I should just be able to access everything here. Okay, I am logged in from something on the network. I don't see myself being disconnected.
Yeah.
But so you're saying you have stable connections to other machines, like tiny.
I never had any problem with 14. I even had a stable connection when I proxied to the MI Titanium G2, the one with the MI X300.
Huh. I mean, could it be? So you're logging in with a different user. I'm just gonna add you to authorized keys of the tiny user, and then try that user. Maybe that's the problem.
I'm trying.
Uh,
I was logged in under my account, but it never kicked me off. I'm not sure.
So, okay. So I added you to the Tiny account. Try logging in with user Tiny and see if it still does it. So I'm logged in with user Tiny, and I can't imagine why it would be different for me and you. And also, what? Why is it laggy? Yeah, we just bought that computer. Came from eBay. I don't know. It's newer Mac OS. Oh, we know Apple made Mac OS worse.
Mac OS 15.
But okay, so we will definitely look into this.
Into it.
Okay, so we have a.
No, the thing I want to test if it's still broken with the new macOS release, because disabling the compiler optimizations made the issue disappear in the CI box. But so maybe it's resolved with a.
Oh, so you're saying if you just set it to O.
0, it works.
It works.
Yeah.
I mean, can that be anything but a compiler bug?
I don't know.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. If can we just find a way to force those tests to use O0?
I was thinking about that, but I mean, it's not. I want to test first if it's fixed with this new release.
The new Mac OS release, then we could update all the Mac OSs.
Yeah.
No, they all have the SSH issue. Yes, it's great. It's great. We're upgrading them.
I mean, it's not to solve now, but I'm trying to connect with Tiny User, and I still can't connect. So I don't know.
You wait. You can't connect, or it's kicking you out.
No, now it's like it's setting up SSH host to connect to TinyMac 3, and it's waiting like since 3 minutes now.
I mean, there is something like slow about this too. I don't know. Macs don't work anymore. Apple broke it. Wait, yeah, I just got a timeout when I tried to connect. That time it connected. Yeah.
So I tried to SSH and I connected.
You tried to SSH and it connected. All right. Well, the chaff time expired. I'm running with a bunch of V's. Okay, yeah, but we'll look into that. If it really is, I'll test it today too. If it really is an O0 thing, that's not. I can wire it up to just force it to or if it really works with O0, I'm kind of fine with skipping the tests. Like, it's hard for me to think about a time when you're doing something wrong and it works with O0, but it doesn't work with O2. Like, the compiler should pretty much guarantee you they're the same, unless there's some, like, obvious wrong thing. So it works locally on your M3?
Yeah, with my M3 it works with all default optimization flags and with Cibo in Cibo machines also. Because I continued to test the decode and it worked also.
Interesting. Cool. But no, this is great if we can get this merged.
Yeah, I moved the thing you told me about the alignment to another PR, and
Yeah. That's just what I was gonna say. The alignment thing should be in a different PR, and then anything else should be in a different PR. No, the rest of it looks like it's actual LDS stuff. Yeah. Let's get the alignment thing merged first. Actually,
sure.
I wonder if the alignment thing can trigger the bug. Maybe that's the.
I tested with the different alignment configurations when I had access to the tiny CI machine, and it didn't fix. Also, one thing that I couldn't do much because the disassemble Apple GPU doesn't work for my M3, so I couldn't compare the assembly output.
Yeah, the M3 has it never worked for M3. M3 has a totally different bytecode. But all right, cool. Yeah, let's try to get this merged today. We'll skip the O0 thing if we have to. But very very exciting to finally have this done. I think this is a great step toward making our gems fast.
Yep.
Cool.
That's it. Thank you.
All right, we're up to Onyx. Quantize Onyx. The bug wasn't in Onyx. Yeah, let's get Onyx merged into main tinygrad. Is removing Onyx protobuf parsing a requirement to merge Onyx into main tinygrad? I think no. It's not that difficult. I mean, you're just gonna need to like write a parser for protobuf. It's probably on par with like GGML kind of stuff. The parser does not have to be complete for all of protobuf either. It just needs to work for Onyx. The thing that I'm really excited about having our own protobuf parser is that we could remove the copy. Like right now, if you do Onyx load, it's loading that whole thing into RAM, which is kind of annoying. And yeah, then we can just directly move from the. Once we have these things in tinygrad, they'll happily just run on the GPU or run wherever they are. And yeah, we can avoid this extra copy. So yeah, that's a $300 bounty. If somebody's interested, it's doable in a day. If you put a good day into it. Yeah, I think that's the kind of thing also where ChatGPT can definitely help you a lot. Not saying you can't use AI to write code you don't understand, but I think it used to be a day, and I think with the right person who's good with ChatGPT, they could do it in 3 hours. But no, yeah, I don't think it's a requirement. I'm fine with just requiring import of Onyx for now to get that merged, but even better if we can remove that requirement. Cool. Okay, Z3 fuzzer?
Yeah, I haven't really worked on that last week. It's still the same thing that needs to be done about the div mod stuff needs to be fixed first.
What needs to be fixed first? Sorry?
There's a rewrite rule now that's incorrect for some div folding. The problem is if you fix it, then there's a lot of regression in OpenPilot, like gated loads. So yeah, to like fix that, you can. I was trying to make some improvements to UOP given valid, so it can still do the same simplification, but
So the way that I would deal with this is I would just make it a context variable to disable that optimization. You can leave it on by default, so it's still good for OpenPilot, but just disable it when you're fuzzing, and then yeah, you won't hit it, and then we know that's something we have to fix, but we can still move forward on the fuzzer.
Okay, yeah, I can do that. Sounds good.
Cool. Yeah, no, I mean, and finding bugs is a gift. I mean, that's great. The whole point of the fuzzer is to find subtle bugs in these rewrite rules that would cause huge problems for somebody down the line. So yeah, it sounds like we're already finding stuff. That's great.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's almost done then. So I'll fix it.
Cool. You want to talk about cloud stuff?
Sure. Probably wiping machines today.
All of them.
The ones I can get through.
All right.
We're moving them all to 2404. New image. Be nicer. Some of them are moving to other stuff. What other blocks are we adding to Red CI?
Oh, I don't know, like 15.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll put another box on Red CI. We'll kick people off.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be nice to just have like all the boxes.
Yeah.
Oh, it'll be so nice. I love this idea of a real ML perf cron training job. Yeah, so we'll add one more box to Red CI. I mean, or I don't know. You want to stand up Tiny 11? It's an option as well.
Could do that. No rack space though.
There's rack space. Upper left. There's no power, but there's rack space.
No power. The room is out of power. No more power.
The room's out of power. I mean, actually, not only is the room out of power, I think that if we use the power that we're already running, if we ran all those boxes at full load, I think that room would get to 110 degrees. So we're gonna have to do something about cooling. By the way, I don't know. You know, we got a lot of people in the meeting today. I don't know if anyone's interested in coming to work here for the summer on supply chain management stuff. You know, just tiny box management stuff, like physical, like computer builder kind of stuff. Sales support, almost everything having to do with the physical computers. Buying box fans from Home Depot and sticking them in the window. All right, so we're reimaging the boxes this week.
And then if no one picks up the GPU hashing bounty, because I kind of need that to move forward.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so we've decided on 4 megs for the block size. I mean, do you think we can get 4 megs to like fully saturate the GPU while it's hashing? Like, how quickly can we compute a 4 meg hash on a GPU?
I feel like we can get to saturate.
You think?
Maybe.
Saturate what?
Oh, I see. Like just 4 meg. Oh.
Well, just 4 megs, yeah. No, I mean, there'd be some in parallel too. I don't know, like how quickly can we compute a 4 meg hash is kind of the question.
Yeah. Let's see.
Right, because like
faster to do the CPU.
No. I want something that is like close to the GPU memory.
Yeah.
Or maybe like, I don't know, like 100 gigabytes a second would be good. And then we could do 10 in parallel and get the full. Yeah, like I'm okay with having to require like 10 hashes, but we have to basically be running massive amount of these hashes at GPU memory speed. And I don't know if this is like at all doable. Maybe this is just a pipe dream, but
I don't know. We might need to lower the block size, and if you want
you want to lower the block size
or increase it more. This is more overhead.
I think 4 is kind of the compromise. Yeah, we're building out a distributed file system for Tinygrad's cloud. Basically, yeah, it's just going to be like an easy way to right now you can like load tensors from URLs and stuff, and we'll still support loading tensors from URLs. But what this is going to do under the hood is we'll have some database that maps URLs to a hash, and then the hash is accessible in the file system.
Yeah, in terms of like placement stuff, Zeph, their crush.
I was looking into our crushes. Yeah, I think
basically what you want.
Yeah, crushes.
because it's a deterministic, basically user defined.
Yeah, I mean, key value works like this too, where the subtleties here become okay. We add another drive. What happens?
Yeah, that's basically the problem with Crush.
Yeah.
When you start scaling it up, like after you've already done a deployment, you have to replace everything.
Yeah, let's avoid that. I don't know if we can.
Yeah, and then the way people usually solve this is they spin up a metadata server, and then that tells you where everything is placed. So those are the two categories of distributed file systems.
A metadata server is okay. I just don't want to have to require for each hash to hit some central server to say where that actual hash is stored.
I mean, that's usually the solution that people go. Like basically all the big ones are either metadata server or you have
big rebalance issues.
Yeah.
Maybe big rebalance issues is okay then. Because that metadata server has to be so high throughput. Well, it's just 4 megs.
It's not that high throughput. The blocks are generally smaller, and you can cache a lot of the stuff on the client. I don't know.
And then if we lose the metadata server,
yeah, and that's where it gets complicated.
Yeah, we gotta do backups, and then there's state that can be out of sync. Oh, what a nightmare.
Three metadata servers.
Connection seems stable now with Tiny User.
I don't know if it's that or the power management change.
Who knows? Whatever. Glad it's working. All right. So other bounties. Let's just run through bounties for new people here. Also, if anyone has any questions, just post them in general. This is a good time to ask questions. Yeah, so there's a $300 bounty for loading Onyx without the Onyx library, just parsing protobufs. General public service announcement. Please do not submit your Codex PRs. Codex is not good. There was one last week where it just changed the white space around and said it solved the problem and made no functional change to the thing. It's not good. Codex seems, yeah. I don't know who has a code base that Codex can actually improve, but that code base is way lower quality than ours. What?
OpenPilot says that they have some.
OpenPilot uses it?
Apparently, he has stuff that Codex has actually solved.
Interesting. All right. Well, yeah, but no. I don't. You can obviously use AI. I'm encouraging you to use AI for loading Onyx without the Onyx library. But if you don't read what the AI wrote and understand it, it's probably just wrong. And if you're not capable of understanding it, don't submit it as a PR. You're wasting everybody's time. All right. Make TinyGrad Whisper work on Tiny Recording. I think there's some bug for that. $200 for that. 5090 support. I think we're gonna get to that.
Do we still want the ACO shader compiler back in?
I mean, yeah, I'd pay someone out if they did it. Yeah, if someone wants to write the ACO shader compiler back, and that's pretty easy. Wow, I can't believe I'm offering $300 for that. Crypto hash function. I know there's some progress on Blake. If someone can get a crypto hash function, that's
Blake is probably not that great for content address. It only has 2 to the 64-bit collision resistance.
What do you mean? Someone has a collision in Blake?
No, it just not as great as SHA-256.
Wait.
The collision resistance is less.
Wait, but if it's 2 to the 64, I could probably find a collision.
Yeah, it's not that great.
So it's not a crypto hash function.
It is a crypto hash function.
What the hell kind of crypto hash function can I find a collision in?
But it's 2 to the 64, at least claimed collision resistance. It's a 128-bit hash, but it only has 64 bits.
Well, everything only has 64 bits.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's an 128-bit hash?
It's a 128-bit hash, but it only has 64.
Well, so everything is only going to have half there.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. You can always
128-bit hash. Yeah.
You can always birthday attack to divide the thing
yeah.
by 2. So maybe it's fine. I mean, I don't know. It's not like this isn't really for security. What would happen if? I mean, we can't have something like finding one collision with a birthday attack. I don't think would break our whole thing. I think it would just break that user's flow.
Mm-hmm.
Versus what you can have is something that can do pre-image attacks.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But cool, we can find a collision.
I think it has about the same amount of collision resistance. It's a little bit better than XX hash, at least according to SM hash.
Well, no, but XX hash looked more like CRC to me.
XX hasher is not cryptographic.
Yeah.
But the collision resistance of those two are about the same. At least.
Interesting.
SM hasher. SM hasher has good tests on this.
How can you get a task assigned to you? What do you think this is? Who do you think's assigning tasks? You can just decide, I'm doing this task. Yeah, UVN mentioned XX hash. I looked at it, it looks more like CRC to me. We can't do that.
It is a little bit more serious.
But, like, pre-image?
You know, we definitely want something cryptographic.
We definitely want something with a high pre-image resistance. 2 to the 64. Wait, so you're telling me 2 to the 64. How much GPUs do we need to run to find a collision in Blake 3? Can we do that?
Someone said, like, not GPUs, but for C8 large instances on AWS, it's like 80 for a couple months.
80 for a couple months. I don't know. Yeah, I went down a whole rabbit hole last night of trying to compute digits of pi. I'm trying to get torch index push to work. Doing it naively leads to 2 kernels being generated by every assign. Oh, I'm not worried about that. Just writing the function with uops is acceptable? No. If it's more kernels, that's fine. But if it's written with uops, I don't think that's fine. I'm not even sure why you'd want to do that. Add HVAC decode support through Kuvid to the NV driver. Someone made some progress on that. $500 if someone can do that. RKNN backend. Someone's got that rock chip. Flash attention. That's going to be... It will make that hard. That's going to be hard. The MM peak one. I think someone got close with that. So I think hopefully we can just port that to use the Tinygrad runtime infra. I saw someone linked a GitHub repo for that. Yeah, and then a bunch of torch things. I saw a PR for them moving the stuff off the CPU backend. Is this real? Why is it going to the devices? This like looks kind of real, but oh, maybe it does have to go to the devices. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. This Mr. Super Wealthy looks kind of real. I mean, the tests are failing. My custom tests?
Wait.
It's added by this? What? We actually have something in there called my custom tests? How'd this get merged? Whatever. But yeah, when that's passing the test, we'll look into that. HLBC FAR. I think I actually locked that bounty. I think someone's making progress on that. Yeah, the ad guide. That's progress. We'll lock that. You got tensor unfold working. Only movements only. Tensor gather. Tensor unfold. Let's say. So what is tensor unfold supposed to do?
I think let's a view. Let's expand, then shift a little bit, then slice.
Oh yeah, it definitely shouldn't be done with gather.
Even Torch says it's a view, so it should be
Oh, yeah.
a view.
If Torch says it's a view, yeah. So you definitely can't do this with gather. I mean, the problem with gather is you're creating this big tensor. That's you're creating this big tensor full of indices, and then you're like loading into it when you don't have to. Cool. What else we got? Someone wants to do the torch compile stuff. And someone wants to start benchmarking GPT fast. Cool. Yeah. Got a whole bunch of open bounties for people. New people, if you don't know the link, it's bounties.tinygrad.org. We're also considering a Tinygrad hackathon in person sometime next month or the month after. And yeah, I was wrong at first. I had the thing only for Tinygrad contributors. If you're a Tinygrad user, I mean, that's what I realized. Like we're building a library here. We need to get users of the application or people who are excited to use Tinygrad who want to come to the hackathon. So just write some toy thing with Tinygrad. Submit that as a hackathon submission. And yeah, we'll invite you out. And we'll make it fun. Cool.
That's it for this week.
Think so.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.